Hey everybody, my name is Loon. I am a mix engineer, producer, and artist from the greater Boston area. And today I wanted to go through the mix and production of a song that I recently put out with my friend Olivia. Now, that song is called Whiplash, and it is off of an EP also called Whiplash that was released on February 16th. It is available on all streaming platforms. If you haven't checked it out, I highly recommend you do. We're very proud of how the songs turned out. And if you have and you liked it, thank you for listening. So this video is going to center around the guitar and bass production and mixing off of Whiplash. But over the course of the next week or so, I'm going to be putting out videos for all of the different components of the song, ending with a video on the whole mix and the mastering chain so that you can see sort of every step of the process. If you end up enjoying this video, please hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, really helps me out, and that way you'll be notified when the rest of this series comes out. So without further ado, let's jump into Pro Tools and we'll start talking about the song. So this is the whole session for the song. You'll see we have all of the guitars are these yellow tracks here. So the song starts out with just acoustic guitar and vocals. And the way that I recorded the acoustic guitar was using two microphones, a Slate digital modeling microphone, the large diaphragm condenser, and that was positioned around the 12th fret, about a foot away from the guitar. And then the second mic is actually a shotgun microphone that I put also about a foot away from the guitar, but this time closer to the body sound hole-ish area. And what that does is it captures a lot of the low-end resonance of the guitar. So you'll notice it's mixed a fair bit lower than the other microphone, but I still have a bit of a stereo split on it just to get the acoustic a little bit wider. And then those two mics together sound like this. So thankfully, I got a really good sound on the way in with this acoustic guitar. I spent a lot of time on the miking. So the only plugin that's on the actual acoustic guitar tracks is the virtual mic plugin that comes with the modeling microphone. And then I also have this like saturator thing also on that channel. I just kind of leave that on it. It's a default like processing block, and I just kind of turned it up a little bit and it sounded nice. But I do have some processing on the acoustic guitar bus. First, a compressor. This is really just taking about a dB or two of gain reduction because acoustic guitar can be a pretty transient heavy instrument. Next, I have Neutron, which Neutron is really there just as a low cut. I originally had a different EQ in there, and then I was going to do some dynamic EQ stuff with the low end. I didn't end up doing that, but Neutron stayed. And then finally, here's where the dynamic processing comes in. I was getting a little bit too much low-end boominess, but I still wanted the low end to be there, so I didn't cut all of it. I ended up using this multi-band compressor to just compress the low end. And what that did was created a really warm, but still tight acoustic guitar sound. That's really it for the acoustic. I kept it super clean. There's not any like reverb or space on it because as we get later into the song and other elements came in around it, it didn't make sense to have a reverb. The only other bit of acoustic in the song actually is right at the end, underneath the outro, and it's almost like barely audible here. The acoustic guitar at the end is almost the same deal, except it's just not going through the bus processing, so that's just what the acoustic sounds like on the way in. The bulk of the tracking for this song came on electric. And the first guitar that shows up in multiple of the parts is this. This is my Stratocaster. It is a Squier Affinity Strat. It's like, I think I bought it for $125. I have since upgraded the hell out of it. It has Fender noiseless single coils in it because I hate 60 cycle hum. And then everything else about it is more or less sort of standard Strat. But I really like how this sounds. For this song, I was using that thing that you can really only get with a Strat, which is like position 2 and 4, the, you know, twangy, really twangy thing. And the first place that shows up is this first track, the ARP guitar. This is also the only electric guitar track on this song that uses a real amp. This was tracked through my Houston Kettner Black Spirit 200 and Laney Cub Cab. It's a 212. The reason that it's going through an amp is not actually for any tonal reason. It's because I wanted to make an Instagram video of me miking up a guitar amp and recording through it, and the guitar just kind of stuck around But I really like this tone. So the only stuff I have on here is a little bit of an EQ boost because I cut out too much of the low mids on the amp. So it sounds like this. Yeah, so kind of gainy, sort of comes off as clean in the whole mix though. Very little processing on that because I really wanted that raw amp sound. The next track that comes up also was recorded with the Strat here, and it's this lead track. Now, here is where we move into digital amps. All the rest of the guitar tracks and the bass tracks as well were recorded with a Neural DSP Quad Cortex. I believe I was using the Mesa Lone Star copy that's in the Quad Cortex for this, if I remember correctly, and that lead track, or with a distortion in front of it. And that lead track sounds like this. Out of context, it's a little bit weird. But again, I just really wanted like a melodic track, counter melody to the vocals. I did sort of the same thing with this lead track during the outro, but this is a double stop. I think it's the same tone though. Oh no, this one has the overdrive pedal. So the other one is just the amp. And then the final track that I recorded with the Strat was this, which I am calling the wash guitar because it's kind of like a sonic wash. There isn't a whole lot of reverb on it, but it's big chords underneath the outro. That's again the sort of position 2 or 4 sound. I think it's position 2. What that track was supposed to contribute was a more full chord sound in the context of the outro, because there's a lot happening, but a lot of it is power chords. The meat of the outro comes from this guitar, which is an Epiphone ES335 Pro. I keep this guitar around because it's the only guitar that I have that has like PAF style humbuckers. It sounds great. It's kind of a pain to play because it's so big and I am so not, but it's a really awesome sounding guitar for clean stuff, and then also for this kind of grungy rock thing. And then that tone sounds like this. Something to note with this tone, so this is again the Quad Cortex, I think using like a Rat clone for the distortion sound, but it's, you know, it's like a fuzzed out distortion thing. Something that's really important with tracks like these, I found, is to use an EQ to cut a crap ton of the low end out. If I turn this off. You know, it sounds like pretty crappy out of context. That freed up a whole lot of low end for like the kick and the bass to come through, and that was really critical in getting the outro to work together, because otherwise it would have just been a jumbled mess in the low end. Which probably means it's a good time to talk about the bass. All of the bass for this song was, and actually for most of the record itself, was recorded on this, which is an Ibanez Soundgear SRFF 805 multi-scale 5-string that I bought because I wanted a dingwall but couldn't afford a dingwall. That's it, actually. That's the whole reason. No, this bass sounds great. In this case, again, I'm using the Quad Cortex for the bass amp, and I think, again, the Rat in front, and I got this tone. You know, like a super nasty, distorted sound. I really love when bass sounds like this, and I particularly love how it works with the fuzzed out rhythm guitar. I feel like those tones blend really well together, and it, in the wider context of the sound, it gives like this really powerful low end to the outro. terms of processing, again, I'm doing pretty standard stuff. There is a low cut on the bass, and that's to make space for the kick drum. I also cut off some of the highs because when I'm creating tones, I tend to go brighter than I think I'll need, just by a little bit, because I find it much harder to get nice sounding high end when there isn't high end, versus making something darker is significantly easier. And then finally, I again have a multi-band compressor. What this is doing is it's just making the high mids more consistent, which is something that I was struggling with on this tone. This kind of solved it, and it in this case, it's actually kind of making a U shape around the guitar. So it has the low end, then it has not so much in the low mids, and then it has the high mids. That just works really well in this context, though I will be honest, totally pulled that from modern metal. I guess the last thing to go over in this is the clean bass, which is, again, quad cortex, but on a clean patch with a little bit of a low mid boost, a little bit of a high mid cut, or a lot of bit of a high mid cut, and then, again, a low cut to make space for the kick drum. It's worth saying that this tone was pretty heavily compressed on the way in. I think I had a compressor in front of the amp and also after the amp, all within the quad cortex. An important point to make here, you'll notice that there are not a lot of plugins on this session, and that's a little abnormal, even for me, and I try to, get good sounds on the way in, and a lot of that has to do with using the quad cortex for a lot of these tones. And this is the main benefit that I see to using modelers and other digital things in the studio, is all of the processing that I would normally do in the box, things like EQ changes to make the patches work or compression, I've done already. It's very similar to using outboard gear in a studio to get sounds on the way in, except in this case, it is all contained within one unit. I think that's everything I wanted to say about the guitar production and recording and mixing. If you have any questions, please leave them down in the comments. I'd be happy to answer them. And again, subscribe, stick around for the other stuff that's going to happen later this week. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for watching. Go stream the Whiplash EP wherever you get your records, and have a good day.